All right, so welcome to this deep dive. Tonight we're going way back to Halloween night.
Ooh, spooky.
It took a seriously spooky turn though for these friends.
Oh, yay.
Okay, so picture it, 2007,
Okay.
classic kind of like suburban neighborhood, and four high school freshmen. They're all decked out in Super Mario Bros. Costumes, ready
Yeah.
to just rake in the candy.
Love it.
You know, I always thought that trick-or-treating would be less fun as a teenager,
Right.
but this story makes me think that maybe the stakes are just higher when you're a little bit older.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You know how this story sets us up with this like familiar, almost nostalgic Halloween scene,
Right.
but there's this underlying tension.
Mm.
Like these aren't little kids anymore.
Yeah.
They're at that age where they're testing boundaries,
Mm.
venturing further from home,
Yeah.
maybe even feeling a little invincible.
Totally. And their neighborhood, even with houses spread pretty far apart, it kind of adds to that sense of venturing into the unknown. Walking along, all hyped up on sugar, they spot a house with a purple candy bucket just sitting out on the porch.
Score?
Right. But then as they get closer, they realize it's empty.
Oh, no.
Did you ever have any trick-or-treating letdowns like that? It's like the
Yeah.
ultimate Halloween heartbreak.
It is. And I think that empty bucket, it's like it subtly foreshadows that things are about to go off script.
Oh!
It disrupts this like expected pattern,
Yeah.
and our brains start to pick up on that even subconsciously. You know what I mean?
Totally.
We're primed for something unexpected.
And the unexpected arrives in the form of a knock at the window,
Okay.
but no one's there.
Ah.
And then a voice from inside the house invites them in for more candy.
Oh, no, thank you. I don't know about you, but that's a hard pass for me.
Right. It plays on that primal fear of the stranger, like the
Mhm.
unknown danger that's lurking behind a closed door. We're like wired to be wary of those invitations,
Yeah.
especially in a context like Halloween,
Yeah.
where that line between reality and make-believe is already so blurred. Exactly. The guy who opens the door is described as like late 40s balding and having this like bad vibe.
Okay.
One of the friends like hesitates, almost goes inside,
Oh,
but the others pull him back.
good friends.
What do you make of that hesitation? Is it just teenage bravado, or is there something more intuitive at play, like sensing a real threat?
I mean, it's probably a mix of both, right?
Yeah.
Teenagers, they often underestimate danger,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but there's also this gut feeling, that primal instinct
Right.
that we often ignore, but it can be so powerful. It's like our subconscious mind picking up on these signals that we're not even consciously aware of.
So they dodge a bullet, maybe, and they head towards the edge of their neighborhood, which is right next to a nature preserve.
Okay.
It's getting dark now. And one of the friends thinks he hears something moving in the woods.
Oh, boy.
I can already feel the chills, woods at night, classic horror movie trope.
It is.
Yeah.
And it taps into this like deep-seated fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
You can't see clearly. Our senses are heightened. Our imaginations just run wild.
Yeah.
The woods become this like blank canvas that we project all of our anxieties onto, like our fears of what might be lurking in the shadows.
So true. They try to brush it off, but then more of them hear it. Footsteps, like slow and deliberate,
Mm.
stopping when they stop. That's next level creepy right there.
hmm
Have you ever felt like you were being watched or followed? That feeling of vulnerability is just bone-chilling.
Absolutely. And that's what this story does so brilliantly. It puts us in the shoes of these teenagers,
Yeah.
experiencing that primal fear of being hunted, of being stalked by an unseen presence,
Oh, yeah.
and the footsteps mimicking their movements. It amplifies that feeling of being trapped,
Yeah.
of having nowhere to escape.
Totally. One of the guys trying to sound tough shouts into the woods,
Oh, no.
but even his voice cracks with nerves, and then a twig snaps.
Oh, God, that's it. Game over.
Right. It's like the confirmation they needed, that tangible evidence that they're not alone, that something is out there.
Yeah.
And that sound, that breaking of the silence, it triggers that fight or flight response.
Big time.
Oh, yeah. And they choose flight. They take off running candy bars, probably just flying out of their bags. But that sound of those heavy footsteps crashing through the woods just keeps getting closer. And it's not just one person either. It sounds like two, maybe three people chasing them. I can practically hear my own heart pounding just listening to this.
That's a masterclass in suspense building, right?
Oh, yeah.
The multiple pursuers create this sense of being overwhelmed, like surrounded,
Right.
with no clear escape route. It's like a nightmare scenario come to life.
Totally.
And that's where like our deepest fears take hold.
They finally make it to one of their friends' houses and burst through the back door, slamming it shut. Safe at last, or so they think.
Oh.
They're catching their breath, adrenaline's pumping when bang, the backyard gate slams shut. Talk about a jump scare. It's like something straight out of a horror movie.
It's such a brilliant use of sound to just like ratchet up the tension.
Yeah.
Just when they think they found sanctuary, the threat is brought right to their doorstep. That sudden jarring sound, it's like a visceral reminder that they're not safe.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Then it gets even weirder. They hear a click, a thud. Something or someone is at the back door trying to get in.
Oh my God.
They grab knives from the kitchen. I guess Super Mario's got to defend himself somehow.
Right.
Turn on the back porch light and brace for a confrontation.
I have to ask, what would you do in that situation? I think I'd be frozen in fear.
Absolutely. It's that fight or flight response kicking in again.
Right.
They've gone from like blind panic to this desperate attempt to like defend themselves.
Yeah.
The knives, the light, it's a primal instinct to push back against the unknown, to reclaim a sense of control in this like chaotic situation.
But when they look, no one's there. Just as they're starting to think they're imagining things, the front door swings open. And they all scream, "I would too." But it's not the pursuers. It's their friends' mom and sisters coming home from a party. The
Oh.
leaf fright.
It's such a brilliant subversion of expectations.
Totally.
We've been so conditioned to anticipate the worst.
That this like seemingly normal arrival, it feels almost as jarring as the previous threats.
Yeah.
It's like this momentary release of tension before the story takes its like truly unsettling turn.
Because here's the twist. Later they find out it wasn't actually the mom and sisters at the front door. They never even went into the backyard, meaning it couldn't have been them at the back door either.
What?
When the friend checks from his upstairs window, nothing there. He calls the police, but they find no one. Okay, now I'm officially spooked. What do you make of this?
This is where the story like transcends a simple scare and becomes a haunting mystery.
Right.
The impossible figure at the front door, the unexplained events at the back. It introduces this element of the supernatural, the unexplainable.
Yeah.
It makes us question what we think we know about reality, about the boundaries between the ordinary and the extraordinary.
The only lead they have is that creepy guy from earlier who invited them inside. But even that feels like a dead end. Nothing ever came of it, and nothing like that happened at the friend's house again. Still, you can bet that Halloween night stuck with them. Imagine carrying that around with you all these years. It makes you wonder about the nature of memory and how certain events become just etched into our minds, especially those that leave us with unanswered questions.
It's like our minds try to make sense of the unexplainable. You know, we
Yeah.
revisit those memories, searching for clues, for some logical explanation that might like ease the unease.
Right.
But sometimes the not knowing is what stays with us.
Yeah.
It continues to haunt us.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, was it all just an elaborate prank, some teenagers just messing with them? Or was there something more to it, something that we just can't quite grasp? What's your gut feeling on this? Do you think they were actually in danger that night?
I think it's the ambiguity that makes this story so compelling. You know, we're wired to seek explanations, to categorize and understand the world around us. But when we encounter something that defies logic, that falls outside of our neat little categories, it leaves us with this sense of unease, this feeling that something is just amiss.
It's almost like the story taps into this collective fear of the unknown, a fear that's been passed down through like generations of ghost stories and campfire tales. Do you think there's something about Halloween specifically that makes us more susceptible to these kinds of stories, more willing to believe in the possibility of something supernatural?
Absolutely. Halloween is the time when we embrace the unknown. You know, we blur the lines between reality and fantasy.
Right.
It's a night where we confront our fears, both real and imagined, and we allow ourselves to be swept away by the thrill of the unexplainable.
And what's so interesting about this particular story is that it's not just about the events themselves, but about the lasting impact they had on those involved. You know, it's a reminder that sometimes the most unsettling experiences are the ones that stay with us long after the event itself is over.
It's the power of memory.
Yeah.
The way certain moments become imprinted on our minds, shaping our perceptions, influencing our future actions. And when those memories are tied to fear, to the unknown, they can hold an even stronger grip on us.
So as we wrap up tonight's deep dive, as you're out there this Halloween, remember this story. Remember that empty candy bucket, the footsteps in the woods, the impossible figure at the front door, and just maybe take a second look before you open the door to a stranger. You never know what might be lurking on the other side.
Happy Halloween.
Sweet dreams.